welcome back to another video. In this video, I wanted to do something a bit different. So first of all, if you're actually a cybersecurity enthusiast, more on the terms of the web security and doing the web security assessments, which is also known as the bug bounty program, well, this is something that Atlassian actually has. So the bug bounties are basically the open programs where companies are actually defining which parts of their products are actually in scope, and they're actually putting out there for all of the bug bounty hunters to actually find the vulnerabilities before the real bad actors use these vulnerabilities and actually abuse them and use them in the non-ethical ways, if I can actually even say in the criminal ways. What actually is this all about? It's about defining a vulnerability, where basically there is some kind of security vulnerability that you actually have found within the Atlassian's site. But the thing is, which I actually will talk about, are some of the things that you have that are in scope and the things that are basically out of the scope. Okay, so the very first thing is you're also having, when you're doing the bug bounty assessment, when you actually find an initial vulnerability, you actually need to write a report for it. So for this report, actually you have the type of issue. Either it's going to be cross-site scripting, SQL injection, remote code exit, cross-request forgery, IDOR vulnerabilities, and some things like that. Product inversion with a bug of URL, with a cloud service. So basically what Atlassian is actually offering is the bug bounties on the cloud and on the data center. For the cloud, you actually need to also be using like dash bug crowd or something, or bug bounty. We'll actually see that as well. And also the data center. And when you're actually doing the vulnerability assessment using the data center, you actually need to be using the latest one. Most important thing that I want to actually mention in here is to be ethical, not to be non-ethical, because if you're not ethical and you're actually using to exploit this in the wild, or maybe sell this to someone else, this is considered to be a crime, and probably a legal action is going to be run against you. All right, so there are some other things like, what is the potential impact of the vulnerability? For example, hijacking a user's account, see maybe some of the things that you're not supposed to see, like their projects or everything else. So stuff like that. Then you have step-by-step instructions to reproduce the issue and any proof of concept or exploit code required to reproduce. And there is actually a definition of vulnerability that actually Atlassian has. And security vulnerability is actually a weakness in one of the products or infrastructure that allow an attacker to impact the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of the product or infrastructure. So those are some kind of things. So also there's some things that basically are not being considered as security vulnerabilities, such as presence of absent HTTP headers, missing security related stuff, exposed stacks traces, autocomplete enabled or disabled, or stuff like that. So the thing is, what is saying here, open company, no bullshit. We believe that vulnerability disclosure is a part of that value as well. So that is actually needs to be doing this. When conducting a vulnerability search according to this policy, we consider this research to be authorized, and we will not initiate or support legal action against you, because you're actually doing this in good faith, not to actually cause harm. So There is no bringing claim against for circumvention of technology controls, restrictions from the terms and conditions, and also lawful, helpful to the overall security of the internet and conducted in good faith. All right, so now mention this bug bounty program. Basically, main two sites that are actually offering the bug bounties are HackerOne and also the bug bounty, which is the bug crowd in here. So for the bug crowd, actually there is, and as you can see, there were like 2,489 vulnerabilities rewarded. One thing, of course, that I have to actually mention is when your report has been reviewed by the security team from the Atlassian, and when they actually indeed validate that this is the security vulnerability, you get rewarded for that. So that is the actually kind of a thing to understand. The thing to get started, the very first thing that is defined in here, it's saying do not access, impact, destroy, or otherwise negatively impact Atlassian customers or customer data in any way. Then you're having using your bug crowd ninja email address. Bounties are rewarded differently per product. And also you need to ensure that basically you're in scope when in within that scope the rewards are actually being provided as well. When you're actually as a security researcher doing the assessment, it is really also important when they're actually saying what are the focus areas in here. So there's like cross instance data leakage or access. Server side remote code execution. Oh, this one is really, really bad because it could allow an attacker to basically execute some arbitrary code to actually go through actual machine that is hosting the cloud instance. All right, so the other thing that we're actually having is server-side request forgery. We also have the stored reflected cross-site scripting. Basically, that is like an old vulnerability, but still can be really, really impactful vulnerability because you can do a lot of stuff in there. You can steal cookies. You can actually impersonate the user that is actually using the cloud. It's pretty scary stuff. Then there is like a SQL injection as well. That is also a known vulnerability that is highly impactful. And there are some XML external anti-attacks, access control vulnerabilities, such as the IDOR and some other things. Okay, then it's saying in here, use the following naming convention. So it's saying bug bounty test, and then you go with a bug crowd, your bug crowd name, Atlassian.net. And then you have Jira, Confluence Cloud, Bitbucket, and you have for the data center, where basic for the data center is saying that basic you need to use the latest version of the data center. And then in here, it's basically navigating the users, how to basically add the products, how to actually test the data center products as well. So that is another thing. Now, you have these targets right here that basically are in scope. And as you can see, the very interesting thing in here is that if the vulnerability that you have found within the site is the first priority, you can actually get $10,000. That is the reward. Then the priority 2, 3,600, priority 3, and priority 4. And basically, since all of these are actually in the scope, so these are the ones that you can indeed test. But before that, you actually need to have your bug bounty test thing. Also, mobile apps as well are actually eligible for the pen testing, but actually not sure how this actually can go. But the thing is, you also need to be ethical there as well. So there also is introduction for the Robo and the Atlassian Intelligence. There is for the Atlassian Compass. So all of these are actually in scope. And there are things that are out of scope. So things that are actually out of scope. So these ones are actually the things that you should not test against this. So I'm warning you, because you definitely shouldn't be actually doing this. All right. So that's one of the things in here. And it's saying, then you have this out of scope in here. And it's saying the vulnerabilities that are out of scope. And actually, there are actually a lot of them in here. So I really encourage you, for those who actually want to do this, this is a really important stuff. Do not perform any denial of service attacks to any of the cloud instances. Please do not do this. We're actually here to make Atlassian more secure, not to make Atlassian to break. So we do not want to do that. All right. And also, there are also the types that are excluded from here as well. So a lot of things are actually in there. So they're actually the rules that you need to read throughoutly. Do not conduct non-technical attacks. Do not test the physical security. This bounty follows the bug-out standard disclosure terms. Any vulnerability found in Jira Confluence Data Center product may not be eligible for review in Jira and Confluence Cloud, and vice versa, which is known as no double dipping. Scoring exceptions, and also you have options for the reporting credentials, and so on and so forth. So that is something that you actually need to know. So this is all about doing the good and to actually making Atlassian more secure. All right. So I really hope that you understood the whole concept of this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next one. Bye.